morning, everybody. We are coming to you today from the city of Durban, where the Durban Business Fair is kicking off right here today at the Durban International Conference Center. Of course, my name is Fifi Peters. Right now, for the next 4 days or so, we've got delegates from policymakers to business people who will be convened right here at the Durban ICC, and the conversations will be about doing deals and fostering greater opportunities with the city of Durban. Of course, everywhere across the world's corridors, the conversation is the fourth industrial revolution and what this means for doing business. The situation right here at the Durban Business Fair is no different. And this is going to inform the conversation that we are about to have right now. We're going to hone in specifically on manufacturing, which is a key economic spinner for the gross domestic product here in South Africa, and discuss the various game-changing innovations within this sector that can certainly bolster it up to contribute to growth the way it used to. Of course, we do love engaging with you and hearing from you, so we would love for you to join us in this conversation on social media. The hashtag that you can use is MainFair, and you can at CNBC Africa and at myself, Fifi Peters, throughout this discussion. On that note, I'd like to introduce our panelists here who will be helping us navigate through this topic, and I'd like to begin with Mr. Rajan Reddy, who is seated on my left. He is the Chief Executive Officer of KZN Oils. Next to him is Dr. Daniel Visser, Research and Development Strategy Manager for the Council of Science and Industrial Research. Seated next to him is Mr. Joe Odhiambo, who is the CEO of Agreement South Africa. And lastly, joining us on the panel this morning is Mr. Sihle Ndlela, who is the CEO of Majozi Brass Construction. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Of course, the conversation this morning will be game-changing innovations that will help manufacturers achieve massive productivity. And Rajan, I'd like to begin with you because the Business Fair is celebrating its 20th anniversary this year. And as a fellow patron of the fair who has been here from day one, give us a progress report of how far we have come.
Firstly, thank you for having me. It's indeed a pleasure to be here. Very historical. I remember we started off our first program. We had 52 exhibitors, and it was just arts and crafts. And of course, today we are oversubscribed. I think we need to maybe change the way we go about it. So we're focusing on different parts and sectors of business. And maybe in the next one, if we can convince the municipality to have maybe wholesaling and maybe having a manufacturing, and I think we need to separate that. So yes, we've really come along, and it's so nice to see so many people when we started off from day one,
Sure.
Living with the dream and coming with so many grand ideas, and and lots of people have been very successful.
For sure.
Extremely successful.
52 exhibitors in 1998.
Yes.
I understand that we've had around 2,800 exhibitors over that time period, so you can really see how it has grown. But you're talking about changes and we're talking about innovations, and this is the subject of this morning. And Daniel, I'd like to bring you in right now because innovations at the Council for Industrial Research of South Africa that manufacturing companies, both big and small, should expect.
Thanks very much, Vivi, and thanks for having me as well. I think sitting and talking in panels like this is very important so that people can start understanding what this is all about. The fourth industrial revolution is a mix between the cyber world, the physical world, and the biological world. And unlike previous revolutions, which were based on one or two technologies, so the first industrial revolution was based on steam power. The second industrial revolution was based more on electricity, and the third industrial revolution was based on ICTs. And this is an extension of those, but it's not based on one technology. We've got a number of different technologies. We're looking at additive manufacturing or 3D printing. We're looking at augmented reality, artificial intelligence, big data, analytics, all of these different type of technologies that are busy coming together and integrating, and that really is it. None of these technologies are new. Robotics have been around for ages. We've had robotics since the 70s. What is happening now is that robotics have the ability to make decisions. And that is the change. So that's where the big data and the AI comes in with robotics, and that is what is driving this new revolution. Augmented reality has been around for such a long time, but mostly in the gaming sector. Now we're looking at augmented reality in training applications, in maintenance applications. And with the smartphones that just about everybody has these days, everybody has access to augmented reality. You can literally go and see where a pipeline is underground using your phone. And look at where water leaks and things like that are. So there are a lot of opportunities on the basis of these new technologies. It's a very exciting time, and I understand that it is also a very scary time for a lot of people. But I think the more that we talk about this, the more that we have these kind of discussions, people will see that there are a lot of opportunities as long as we can approach them in the right way.
Sure. And Joe, I mean, Agreement South Africa having been born out of the CSIR, maybe you can just add to that conversation about the innovations that you're seeing by way of the kind of products that you are assessing on a day-to-day basis and actually certifying as being safe and being practical for use.
Thanks, Fifi, and thanks for having me here. As you rightly say, Agreement South Africa was started in 1969 as an agency within the CSIR. It was given a mandate by the Minister of Public Works in 1969, and therefore Agreement South Africa is 49 years old. We are currently a Schedule 3A public entity. The Act number 11 of 2015 set up Agreement South Africa, and we moved out of the CSR on the 1st of April 2018. In the period of its existence, in its 49 years, we've had over 500 different certifications that we've issued for innovative construction technologies. One may ask, what is innovative construction technologies? Innovative construction technology is something for which there is no national standard. In other words, it's something that's new, as Dan was talking about this fourth industrial revolution. We are playing in that field. We are playing in the innovation field. This is an area where we'll see new products coming into the market, and I see a lot of game-changing technologies. And this is an opportunity for Africa to now move into the manufacturing space. For far too long, we've been a producer of raw materials for which we produce a raw material, send them overseas, and they come back as finished products at far much more expensive costs. Now, what are the products that we have seen in the 50 years of existence? We've seen a lot of innovations. Several products which are used today as standardized construction materials came through the Agreement route. They were certified, and once there was sufficient number of manufacturers, then they went on to become standardized products. The Bureau of Standards developed national standards, and then they're used as conventional products. I'll give you a couple of examples. One of them is light steel frame construction. There is a national standard for light steel frame construction. It came through the Agreement route. We developed our criteria. We certified a number of different suppliers. Once there was a sufficient number of suppliers, we developed a national standard with the Bureau of Standards, and there is a South African national standard for light steel frame construction, which can be used as a conventional product. Several other products also have come through the Agreement route. The plastic bathtub, for example, came through the Agreement route. The light metal roofing sheet, like the Harvey tile, came through the Agreement route. The plastic pipe, which is used as conventional for water piping, came through the Agreement route. The water tank, and several other products which are used on a day-to-day as conventional products came through the Agreement route. Another role that Agreement will play that leads into this fourth industrial revolution is the eco-labeling of buildings for and on behalf of the Department of Public Works or government products. Agreement South Africa has been appointed as a competent body to manage the government eco-label scheme. What is eco-label? Eco-label is the environmental labeling of building products for the construction industry.
Sure.
This we will do by ensuring that we assess the life cycle environmental impact of buildings from cradle to grave. We'll look at the entire value chain in terms of the Sustainable Development Goals of 2015,
sure,
issued by the United Nations. Therefore, this is a very important role that Agreement will be playing, and we hope to be members of the Global Eco-Labeling Network.
Sure.
One may ask,
Joe, if you
where
just
is it?
allow me to jump in there, I'll come back to you in just a moment. Yes. Because we did hear from Daniel about the various technologies that have been in use for a very long time, the issue of robotics, artificial intelligence, augmented reality. But Sihle, you were telling me that you have been using very simple technology and how it has transformed your business and how it has helped your business to grow. Simple technology like WhatsApp and Facebook. Tell us more.
Thank you, Fifi, for this opportunity. I'd like to start off by saying thank you to eThekwini Municipality for having me here. This is an amazing opportunity. Just 8 years ago, I was an informal vendor outside this very event where I was selling cool drinks and snacks. I never thought I'd be part of a panel like this. So thank you, eThekwini. To get back to your question, the industry that I'm in is construction, and construction is known for conventional wisdom. Our industry is very restrictive to change, but unfortunately, times are changing, businesses are changing, technology is changing, and the businesses that will survive this tough economic climates are businesses that adapt to change. So when we started our business a couple of years ago, it was just after the 2010 World Cup. So everyone was doing construction. I mean, it was the in thing. So everyone was doing tenders. So we spotted a gap in the market, specifically in the townships, where we saw an opportunity to start developing and building substandard houses that didn't exist in the township. So in the private sector, it's all about the ability to deliver. So marketing is very, very, very crucial. So we were going up against companies with big marketing budgets, and unfortunately, as a small business, we didn't even have a marketing department. So one day, my partner and I, Simpio Majosi, were talking, and then we discovered that we have Facebook. I mean, everyone spends more than 60% of their time on Facebook nowadays. If it's not Facebook, it's Instagram, it's Twitter. So if I have 300 friends on my Facebook account, they each have 300 friends. Therefore, I've got access to more than 20,000 people for 60% of the day. So we needed to find a way to leverage off that power, and it comes at no cost. So we started spreading the word about what we're doing. When we built a house, we just upload a picture, tell a story about it, and that allowed us to sort of, because I believe that marketing is having such an in-depth knowledge that you can influence the way your consumer sees your brand. So we literally built our business on Facebook. It is now, I'd say, the biggest brand in construction purely through Facebook.
And you haven't even used the more complex technologies that can even make your business more efficient and make processes a lot simpler with more money. But Sihle, we'll come to you right now because, I mean, a lot of the people that are here and a lot of the people that make the bulk of the small to medium business sectors that is vital for the economic growth, not only here in South Africa, but also on the continent, are based in sort of informal areas or township areas, right? So everyone wants to know, all right, this fourth industrial revolution, how do I relate? How does it relate to me, Komlazi, or from KwaMashu? How do I adopt this into the day-to-day way of me doing my business? And can we talk about this now? Adopting a fourth industrial revolution strategy. We all sold, we want to do it. Daniel, can you lead this conversation, particularly from a public sector point of view? Where does one even begin?
It's a difficult question. So we've been talking about this both in Parliament and in government, about how we put together strategies and plans to ensure that this is broadly accessible. One of the first things that we're looking at is to ensure that everybody is connected. More than 1/3 of the world's population is still not connected to the internet, even though there are more computers on the internet than there are people in the world. So that doesn't make sense. It is critical that the second economy, that the informal economy gets involved in this. And I think through straight platforms on smartphones, provided you can get connected, it is possible to get involved in a lot of these type of technologies. I think what we were saying now about Facebook is extremely important. Being able to utilize those kind of platforms is critical. The whole fourth industrial revolution is based on digital information. It's based on the wide volume of information that is available and how you analyze and use that data, and how then a company can be agile and react to that data. Very, very important. And For a lot of big companies, being able to adopt these kind of technologies is risky. So yes, there are big companies that have taken on technologies, but it's risky, and big companies are risk averse, and they're a bit like a big tanker. You know, they have to shift slowly. Whereas from a CSR point of view, we're seeing that a lot of these technologies will be adopted by small companies and entrepreneurs first. And I think that is going to be important because they have the ability to take risk, to fail quickly, make mistakes, but then succeed faster with new technology. So we do see the small business and the micro business as a very important player in the fourth industrial revolution, provided that the government can put together platforms and frameworks that make these kind of technologies accessible to all.
Because, I mean, like, as a small business, you're looking at this and you're thinking, for sure, I'm on board. But everybody knows the challenges of being a small business or a startup, funding. And something like a Facebook, as great and as effective as it is, a simple technology like that to reach a new market, how do you do that when right now we're still marching for hashtag data to fall? But Joe, I just want your view on adopting a fourth industrial revolution strategy, particularly as a small business. How do you go about it?
Thanks for the question. I believe that the fourth industrial revolution will lead to the smaller business players having a piece of the bigger cake. For this, I just want to take 1 or 2, 3 game changes that have happened in Africa. The first one I'll use is a mobile money transfer, the M-Pesa that started in Kenya. Started as a small business where anybody who has any type of phone can transact in the big game which was the domain of the major banks. It's a total game changer, and in the whole of East Africa right now and beyond, one can transact, can change, can transfer money, make payments, and participate in the global financial markets. A second example is the game changer, the disruptive technology in the hospitality industry, Airbnb and several other apps. These have changed the hospitality industry, and a lot of the players who benefited are the small players. So I believe these disruptive technologies in the transportation industry, Uber, Taxify, and all these other hail apps whereby you can request a ride. These are game changers. What has it resulted? More jobs for more people, for the smaller players. So I believe currently manufacturing is a domain of a few big manufacturers, and I believe these disruptive technologies will create opportunities for the smaller firms. Now, my advice is for the smaller people to adopt or adapt these technologies. The earlier you get in, the further ahead you will be, and you will be the game changers of the future.
Right. We actually had one of the management people from Airbnb on CNBC Africa just last week, and he was in Khayelitsha. Right? And they were talking about how Airbnb is also seeing growth potential by rolling out more within the township economies, not just the main cities like Durban or Johannesburg and the like. But can we get some input from private sector players, Rajan and Sihle, adopting a fourth industrial revolution strategy as a private sector player? How do you go about?
I think, when you come and you sit in the audience, and I've spent much of my time sitting there, and you're waiting for some sort of what we call nuggets, something that can get you kick-started. And you mustn't make this too complex, in my opinion. You've got to make it simple. You either got a product or you have a service. So when you divide your thinking along those lines, and when you look at where you are, where you want to trade, what product are they short of? You just ask the people around you, or you associate with people, and then you'll understand what is it. And it's either a service. What service can you offer? And once you identify what service you can offer, you either know about the service you're going to offer, or you can hire the service to offer. You just keep it simple. Mm-hmm. And as you say, you must always learn to kiss with one S. It's keep it simple. So if you add the other S, we wouldn't talk about it on thing, So you just don't get too excited. Just keep it simple. What can you do? What can you supply? And you take that, and then you tell the people. But you also research and say, how good is my service? How good is my product? And then you multiply that. And then you go forth, whether it's 1 or 2, but you must be focused, absolutely focused, and then you work on continuous excellence. You mustn't make this complex. Business is very, very simple. You buy right, you sell right, you got your GP, you pay your expenses, and you put the balance in your pocket. So if you're doing 6 things, you're doing something extra. If you're doing 4 things, you're missing out on 1.
For sure.
So you just look at the 5 things that you have to do. And then you will be an expert in whatever you do. Do not do too many things at the same time.
Sure.
Just focus on one thing at a time and you master it. I always say when something else looks attractive, that's the devil. That is taking away your focus. Get back to the point and keep it simple, and you'll see your business multiplying.
Sure.
Always ask for feedback. What did you think of my sales pitch? If you got friendly with someone. Okay? Then you will talk about the continuous excellence that you are striving. Please keep it simple, be calm, and work at your business.
Okay. So, Sihle, just add to that about the importance of keeping it simple, but also the importance of scaling up. So you started 8 years ago. You were a lot smaller than you are now. Now you're one of the game changers in the construction industry. But how did you go about doing that as a small business owner? Because a lot of small businesses will say that sometimes the big guys in the industry, they block you. I mean, their wallets are a lot bigger than you. Their influence are a lot bigger than you. So how did you grow within that context of, 1, keeping it simple, and 2, challenging the Goliaths in your industry?
Okay. Firstly, I think we need to understand what business is. A lot of people go into business purely to make a quick buck, but that's not how business works. Firstly, in order for a business to exist, it needs to be commercially viable. And how does a business become commercially viable? It needs to have a unique selling proposition. So you need to understand what your value add is in the market. So when we started in the sphere that we're in, we started because we saw a gap in the market. So we experienced challenges like every other small business. But what made us different was the desire to want to learn. So we started our business, from a small business where there was just 2 of us, my partner and I. The business grew to a point where we had about 52 workers. We were turning over 6 million a year. But unfortunately, we couldn't run the business because we didn't have the expertise. We didn't have any formal experience in what we're doing. So I'm a big believer in partnerships. I'm a big believer in mentorship. There's no one person who has all the required skill sets to start, run, and grow a business. So what we did is we decided to approach bigger companies. I mean, they say the best way to learn is to model a proven winner. So we wrote to all the big construction companies, your WHOs, your Laveros, and we just basically said to them, listen, guys, we're not looking for any PE deals. We're not looking for any tenders. We just want you guys to come into our business, just study our construction processes, study our business model, and see if you can help us to improve. None of them responded, unfortunately, except WHO. So I remember we got there and we met the managing director, Mr. Craig Yassop. So he got there and then he just asked us how we started in business, and then we just thought it was an informal discussion. So he said, no, look, guys, I really like you. You guys are different. You've got a different energy. Do you know what enterprise development is? So we said, no, we don't. And then he explained what it was. He said there was a criteria, and there were 10 criteria, and of the 10 criteria, we only met 1. So he says, unfortunately, I can't help you because I'm just an employee at WHO. So I got very confused. I thought to myself, this guy says he likes me, but he can't help me. How does that work? So we didn't hear from the guy for a year. So one day he calls up and he says, are you guys still based in Durban? can you come and meet up with us? So we get there, and the boardroom is full of old white men. So we get confused. What's going on here? So he says, guys, I know you. I've believed in you from the first day I met you. This is some of our managers. Can you tell them who you are, how you started, and where you want to go? So we didn't know what was going on. So we just spoke from the heart. And then they said, look, Craig met you a year ago, and he hasn't stopped talking about you ever since. So we thought we'd entertain him and invite you here. So now we can see what the fuss was about. So they asked us, do you guys have an office? We said, no. They said, we've got an office for you. Can you move in? So our relationship with WHO has been a catalyst for growth. We are now involved in some of their projects, but the value comes in the skills transfer. You know, we've learned a lot from them. I mean, currently in the market, I think WHO is the only company that's still liquid and growing. So we've been able to adopt some of their systems and bring them down to our level and cater them from our market. So I think mentorship and just learning from established players.
For sure, and not being afraid to reach out to some of these big guys to ask for help, right? Yeah.
100%.
Rajan, you wanted to add?
If I can just add, you know, after we've chosen whatever service we can render, whatever project or whatever product. Now, the next thing you need is you need a good set of knee pads.
Explain.
Because you must, in business, you got to learn how to grovel. Because nobody believes you in business. You are the unique freak in your family, your friends, and everybody. But remember, business is not meant for the faint-hearted.
Sure.
So if you are the chosen one, so behave like the chosen one. And when you understand your product or your service, now you put that on paper. It's very, very important for you to leave your emotions one side. And you put this on paper, and now you talk to yourself on how you're going to follow through with every transaction. How are you going to grovel to the bank who doesn't like to lend you money, don't want to give you an appointment? So, but if you believe in yourself, you'll persevere.
Sure.
Nobody and nothing must stand in your way. And you go and you convince the person that has the money, I can make you more money. Because I am going to take this is how much I'm going to buy it for, this is how much I'm going to sell it for, this is how much I'm going to make, this is how I'm going to pay my expenses, and this is how I'm going to borrow more money from you, and how I'm going to make more money from you.
For sure.
So any financial institution wants, when they see you, they see risk. Okay, now I'm slightly a bigger risk to my financial institutions, but we are a risk. But how do we mitigate the risk? We must be practical.
Sure.
Be practical. So when you get turned away, and then you ask, where did I fall short? Say, please, do me a favor, take your cap off now. You are not dashed from any bank or whatever you. Tell me as a colleague, where did I go wrong? And don't start saying, because I am black, you don't want to lend me money, because the guy can see you black. So there's no need to tell anybody you are black and you are deserving and must give me. You keep all that aside. Don't get emotional, because you lose your reputation. And remember, people only remember the bad things. They never remember anything good you do, how many times you've learned. So guys, if you're serious about business, please get your act together.
Sure.
And every day you must be on top of your game. Let not your yesterday's failure come with you tomorrow. Let your yesterday's success build your ego for tomorrow. So this is about playing down, getting your shoulder to the wheel and we talk about finance, you got to convince the person I'm not a risk.
Because I like what you're saying. So when you're talking about groveling, so it's not just about, please do this for me, please.
No.
You're talking about actually showing the bank that, listen, I've got an opportunity for you that will make you money. Give me the money. I can actually return on it. So you're essentially talking about skills. So you need to have the right skills. So let's talk about that now. I mean, what kind of skills do we all need to have if we want our businesses to be relevant in the fourth industrial revolution? Daniel?
It's another good point. There are a lot of skills that are coming to the fore now. You know, in our education system, we look at science, technology, engineering, maths. Those are the key skills. Those are the key skills of what we're in at the moment. As we go forward, we're going to need to start looking more at creativity, at integration, at bigger thinking, at things like critical thinking. So it's a different skill set, and it's more of a human and softer skill set that's going to need to be taught. And that goes all the way forward into business as well. The points from the gents here have been very good. One of them being, you cannot think that your business is doing well, ever. You have to continuously want to grow your business and to innovate in your business and develop the skills within your business. Sekle spoke about he had to develop skills in a particular area to grow his business. He had to learn from other people. And that is something that we're seeing from a number of commentators on the Fourth Industrial Revolution, is that you're not just going to do education up to grade 7, up to grade 12, up to postdoc, whatever it is. You're going to have lifelong learning now. You literally are going to have to learn all the way through life. And your in-workplace learning is going to be a benefit now. It's not going to be something, we're not going to be training on Excel and Microsoft and things. You're now going to be training on how to code, how to do data integration, how to do digital twinning, how to do all of these things that we don't know about just yet. The skills area is a huge thing that we have to get to. And especially for those of you with kids out there, there's one study that says 65% of today's kids that are entering primary school this year will be doing jobs that don't exist yet. 65% of the kids entering primary school today will do jobs that don't exist yet. So all of our skills are going to have to change.
But that's so surreal, though. Then how do we prepare our kids for such a scenario? And balancing that with the fact that not everyone is adept in maths. Science is not everyone's strength. I mean, this Durban Business Fair, I do understand that there's going to be a part that focuses on the creative economy, on fashion. What if I'm a designer? What if that's my skill set? So how do I also make myself relevant, never mind my children, in this context whereby maybe maths and science is not my strength? Joe?
I believe, as Daniel has rightly pointed out, the next fourth industrial generation.
4IR, call it 4IR.
will create opportunities for the young and also for women. I'd like to point out that Sustainable Development Goal number 5 talks about gender, and I'm happy to see that a good percentage of today's audience is female. So let's give ourselves a good hand for that. And how do we ensure that we prepare ourselves? Well, I think keep your eyes open. As Sekle rightly pointed out, you need to have skills, you need to keep the right records, and make sure that whatever you're doing, you're generating an income for yourself and doing it better, as Daniel said, than the previous person did. So being ahead of the curve in terms of focus on the future, not on what is behind, and do business. Do the right thing, do it well, do it better than your competitor, and you'll be successful in business.
Celia, I mean, you started off, you said 52 employees now. How many do you employ now?
We employ over 150.
Right, over 150. Wow, remarkable. But then the importance of a skills development in your industry, and especially as you rightly mentioned, a lot of the big construction companies today are not keeping up and are going bust. So talk to us about your approach to skills development and what you're seeing.
It's critical to note that change is scary. Change scares all of us. But change also brings about opportunity. I mean, you can't run a business with yesterday's tactics and expect to be in business tomorrow. So like my colleagues have rightfully said, the fourth industrial revolution will put small businesses at the forefront. It will create a level playing field. So what we've done as a business is we've adopted it in so many ways. We literally run our business from a smartphone. So how it works is each site has a foreman, and a foreman has an iPad. And what happens is a business is only as good as its people. But unfortunately, people don't run businesses. Systems run businesses, and people run systems. So we've got systems that revolve around mobile applications that help us to manage our resources efficiently. So we spend a lot of time training our people on technology to assist them to sort of make up for that lack of skills. For instance, on site, a foreman has an iPad, as I mentioned. So in order to control our staff, there's an app we've designed where a guy comes in, he can clock using the iPad. So that gives us a report on the various employees. We know who are the latecomers, we know who are the most productive. We can tell who lays the most bricks, who covers the most square meterage when it comes to
It sounds so complicated, though. Is it that complicated?
Not really. It's actually simple, because how it started off, it was, like Mr. Rajan had said, we started off simple, just pen and paper. But pen and paper, there's too much admin when it comes to pen and paper. So it happens gradually. But the thing is, you have to start. You have to start somewhere.
Oh, you have to start, for sure. So now, just the skills, right? So Rajan, you were saying something to me, say unemployment, we've got one of the worst unemployment rates in the world. In fact, it's even worse when it comes to young people. It's just bad for us. It's bad. But you're saying unemployability is even worse than our unemployment crisis. Explain.
Before I address that, colleagues, we've dealt with either a product or a service. We've dealt with finance. Now, the quickest thing you must do in business is, who are you in that business? Are you the entrepreneur? Okay? So if you are the entrepreneur, you are the glue, what we call, or you are what is called the hub and spoke. If you get a bicycle wheel, the center part is the hub. So you are the nucleus. And then every time if you want to keep the wheel round, you get people that have the adequate skills. So that's what you must do as an entrepreneur. You must quickly identify your shortfall. And you plug it in, not with your unemployed cousin or your friend or whatever it is. You get the right person for the right job.
So if yours is maths and science, for instance, you go and get a maths and science buff for you.
Yeah, you could hear that came from an academic. Now, in business, there's no place for academics. It's the harsh reality of getting down to the crux of the matter. So now, please go and don't talk about someone that is, when a person is unemployed, they're unemployable, because they are lacking skills. So you as an entrepreneur, a business owner, you need to quickly see what capability or ability the person has, because you need that person to be effective and not more of a headache for you. It becomes a liability to you. So you need to very quickly identify the right people and put them in the right job. When you are in a particular situation and when you can train people, your time will come where you can train people and you can do this, but not when you're starting off. And that is why we have such huge failure rates. I'm talking about having done all this, so don't think I'm righteous and don't think, I'm now ability. It is coming through doing all the wrong things and getting emotional about things. I think that's where, we went wrong about this. So, and even if you're looking at to be employed, you make sure, one is your academic side, where you learn to analyze and you learn to interpret and what have you. So our foundation to seek a job is very, very important to be well educated. And then you need to choose a career. And then you need to qualify in that career. And that is how you won't have people fighting for you and saying you must have 3,500 rand basic wage. You will determine your own salary. You will determine your own wage or whatever you want to call it. But it depends how much you put into life. You put in little, you'll get little interest. So it's all about you got to put value in your life.
I mean, what you give is what you get. But another point is sometimes people are unemployed, or sometimes these businesses that many young people start or many new entrepreneurs start go bust, because sometimes your main client is government, and we're now dealing with a government that is facing a really, really tough economy. It's in recession. But we're also dealing with a government where processes are rather slow. You talk about late payments. 30 days being paid, it's not happening. And if you don't have that cash flow coming into your business, whatever prayer or whatever hard work or whatever skill set you have, you are going to face trouble. So perhaps, Daniel, can you give us insights into some of the innovations that will improve the way that government does business with small business?
Absolutely. First of all, I'd love to know if there's an entrepreneur that's actually been paid within 30 days by government. I'm not sure that has happened.
There you go.
Government is notoriously slow in dealing with it. I mean, government's main business is bureaucracy, and we get tied up in that, and it is a bit of an issue. I was in Parliament last week, and they spoke about if we are going to go into this fourth industrial revolution, we need to show it ourselves. And they are looking, just Parliament, in adopting new platforms where they can do automated form reading. So you can fill in a form, and just by machine vision, that form can be captured immediately instead of having a lengthy data capture, and it can be processed and analyzed. A lot of government institutions are looking at better ways of doing this whole process of filling in a form, getting approved, getting things done. eNate has just gone completely digital. As CSR, we've identified e-institutions within government as one of our key priorities to improve service delivery within each and every government department. So yes, there are a lot of digital platforms that can be utilized. There are a lot of platforms that can be utilized to take out human error, just to take out human laziness at some stages. So a lot of these platforms are coming on board now to hopefully assist government to ultimately do what they should do, which is assist the public. So yes, we are doing quite a lot of that.
Sorry, if I can just add.
Sure.
I think it's a little bit of an unfair statement.
Okay.
To say that government are poor payers.
It's because you've been paid on time.
What I normally do is that I build a relationship. I deal with Transnet, ESCOM. If you ever want to get paid on time, also we need to get off our behind.
Okay.
And you must build a relationship. Don't worry about people talking about corruption. That's in the mind of many people that don't get, it's sour grapes, as we'd say. You must do what you need to do for your business. If your supplier or your customer needs to understand, how do we engage? Your terms of engagement. What are you expecting? How are you expecting my paperwork? When are you expecting my paperwork? How do you want my paperwork to be done? When must I forward my paperwork? So if you get your act together, and if you lay down the rules in the way you conduct business, others will also respect you. But if you just post it, you send it late, it's incomplete, and the calculations are wrong, don't expect to be given the red carpet. You're not the only God sent, that's there. They got other things to do.
Sure.
So we must get our act together. Let's raise the bar.
Sure.
And when you're getting paid, not on time, you go professionally, you go to the manager, you bring the person and say, what am I doing wrong? Always make it about you. What am I doing wrong that is leading you not to pay me on time? So always come across, I am the fault. The shortfall is within me. Leave the coffee machine gossip, leave all the rhetoric, leave all those nonsense behind. Be professional when you're in business.
Sure, I like that, Rajan. It's nice. Very much taking a what can I do about the situation approach. All right, as we wrap up this conversation, so we've spoken about a number of things. So now let's go back to the issue of jobs, if you don't mind, Joe, because you did mention Airbnb and we also mentioned Uber as being not the job destroyers that we are constantly hearing about, but rather job creators. Because the thing is, this fourth industrial revolution, you speak to many business people and you just see mining companies getting smarter, they're cutting 20,000, 12,000 jobs. Manufacturing getting smarter, now they don't need Fifi anymore because now the machine can do it for them. I mean, what's your view on the greater we adopt this fourth industrial revolution, the more jobs we will lose? In the context of these new industries that are yet to be created and the 60% of our kids that are yet to work in jobs that right now don't even exist?
Thanks, Fifi, for that question. As I mentioned, Agrimet South Africa is a body that certificates innovative construction technologies. These are technologies for the future. And I'll just mention a few, not all, but just a few groups of products which have been certificated. And there's opportunities for small players, small industry players, to be licensees. A licensee is somebody who manufactures a product on behalf of the manufacturer or on behalf of the license holder. Therefore, you can become a licensee and you manufacture the product under the license from the person who holds the patent. And I'll mention just a couple of groups, not all of them. One of them is light steel frame, which I mentioned previously. Another one is lightweight concrete, which is aerated concrete, concrete which is same strength but much lighter, made in blocks, huger blocks or huger panels. And these has the advantage of better thermal performance. They're lighter, they're easier to carry, easier to use. We're seeing the use of polymers. Polymers, which is a derivative of made from plastics, a product from Sasol, that is mixed with cement and other materials, and it produces things like door frames, window frames. We're seeing even furniture being manufactured from it, tables and chairs. We're seeing the use of fibers in reinforcement, in replacement of steel. We're seeing recycled plastics together with cements and other polymers being used as roofing tiles. Therefore, there's a lot of exciting innovations out there. And I'd like to encourage you to visit our website, which is agrimet with 1e.co.za, or phone our office 012-841-3708, and you can see all these innovations. And if you have any questions, please contact us.
Beautiful advert there, Joe.
Sorry?
But add to that, Daniel.
If I can come back quickly to the issue of jobs.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a lot of fear within the mining sector around automation taking a lot of jobs. The counter argument to that is, what if we do nothing? We currently cannot get to a lot of our mineral resources because they are too deep or they are too dangerous. The only way to get to those resources and to generate income from those resources is by automation, is by new technologies. So there is data at the moment that says if we do nothing in the mining sector, we lose 200,000 jobs. Nothing. But yes, we may lose jobs through automation in the mining sector, but we'll also create jobs further along the line. Joe spoke about a lot of advanced materials at the now. Now, a lot of those advanced materials will need manufacturing. They will need assembly. They will need putting into wherever they're going into. That creates jobs. It's a different sector. So a lot of these companies that have lower skilled workers, that have jobs that are at risk, need to start thinking now about how they upskill their workers, how they skill their workers, even to move sectors, so that there will be more jobs that replace the jobs that are affected by automation. Every single industrial revolution has affected jobs, every one of them.
Right.
But yet there have been more jobs later on. So there will be a period of change. There will be a period of transition that we're going to see job losses with perhaps not necessarily an obvious new job in its place. But that period will lead to more jobs eventually.
Right. Yeah, Roger, I wanted to talk to you because, this is 20 years now. So in your experience of what has happened in the past 20 years, and you're looking into the crystal ball of what you see happening into the next 20 years, your view on jobs?
We can create a lot of jobs, having been there. We are very fortunate. We've got a lot of mineral resources. And what we need to encourage our government is follow a beneficiation process. Okay? So we don't send our raw materials out. And this is what the previous government really did fantastic. That is why they created so many mega industries. And that is why we're failing with the new government. We always think India is an answer to our problem. We always think, China is an answer to our problem. And BRICS, I always figured out, I don't know which part of the BRICS we fall. It's either we're not building anything, we're either the bricks or the mortar or whatever it is, but there's nothing. Everyone's using us as a gateway. And going through Africa, looking at it. Every time my president goes anywhere, I cringe because I don't know what MOU he is going to sign at the expense of our people.
Okay,
we're getting a lot of imported goods,
Let's try not to make this. Let's try not to make this political. Let's just really be practical about the digital innovations.
I'm gonna be practical because it impacts on us. I'm sorry to cut you short.
Sure.
But what we want is to be honest about jobs. We're talking about job opportunities. We're talking about entrepreneurship. We're talking about industrialization. That's what we're talking about. And this is macro level stuff. This is not SMME, but it trickles down to the SMME. It's from the top down. Even though we say small business is big business. But at the same time, if big business is not doing what they should be doing, the small business is not going to benefit out of it.
For sure.
So that is what is going to happen. So we need to look at what is called the pipeline economy. We need to go much more into franchising, which is standardized excellence. Not each person coming out with their own idea. When you master something and you multiply.
For sure. But your point on beneficiation and us actually value adding the products that we create here rather than importing the same things that come from our ground, it's a point that is shared across many corridors. But we have 4 minutes left, and in the interest of time, I just thought that just final thoughts on this subject matter of game-changing innovations for manufacturers that will improve productivity. And Sihle, perhaps your final thought for a lot of the young people that are seated in this room that you actually have inspired through your story. What should they go about doing as they embrace technology and this new digital normal in their business?
Firstly, in South Africa, there is this tendency to want to romanticize business, to want to make it seem like it's easy. But the reality is that it's not. I mean, if it were easy, everyone would be doing it. So what I'd like, my message to the youth is the youth needs to learn to stop depending on government. The youth needs to learn to create their own opportunities.
All right.
I mean, business is basically, business is simple. Business is about mitigating the impact of risk. It's about protecting the downside.
Okay, so the youth must learn to create their own opportunities.
Yes.
Don't rely on government. Okay, Joe, so 2 minutes left. Joe, I know your main message was adapt and adopt the new technologies. Your final thoughts.
Adapt or adopt or die.
Daniel?
Don't be scared. Don't be scared of innovation. Innovation can help your life in so many ways. Do not be scared of innovation. Embrace innovation.
Sure. And Mr. Rajan?
Keep it simple. Stick to the basics. Spend 80% of your time on the basics and only be innovative 20%.
Sure. Thank you so much. Right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for engaging us. Of course, that does wrap up the discussion that has been had today. I mean, we've got a whole program lined up in store for you guys for the next 4 days. But for our viewers who are watching us across the 48 countries on the continent and more, thank you so much for engaging. We are leaving you right now, but do catch up with all the insights of the Durban Business Fair that will be brought to you on CNBC Africa. You can check out our online page, cnbcafrica.com, for all the insights, and follow us on Twitter. From myself, Fifi Peters, thank you so much for watching. It's bye for now.